I am a messenger of God, and this is a very important message in regards to the fate of the earth. It would be wise to heed these words. If they are spread far and wide and truly understood, your future will become objectively more safe and free. Please listen. I will not lead you astray. It is my desire only to wash your feet and to teach you how to better protect and empower all good people. Now you may be inclined to ask, which God? I also once thought I was clever for asking that question, but the answer is very simple. To a Jew, I am a representative of the true creator of the universe. To a Christian, I am a representative of the true creator of the universe. To a Muslim, I am a representative of the true creator of the universe. To a Hindu or a Buddhist, I am a representative of the true creator of the universe. To those who yet prefer Norse or Greek mythologies, I represent the true creator of the universe. To an atheist as well, I am a representative of the true creator of the universe, who they do not believe in, but who exists regardless. Now, before you jump up to put me on a cross, I would appreciate it if you would listen first to what I have to say, and after you have applied logical discernment, you may then pass a more appropriate judgment upon me. Before I get started, I would like to explain what it means for me to represent God. I am not claiming that I have access to the whole mind of God. I do not in any way know everything that God knows. What it means for me to represent God is that my will is akin to the will of God. My spirit is akin to the spirit of God. My love is akin to the love of God. And my wrath is akin to the wrath of God. I have been blessed in many ways, and I have experienced things that you can scarcely imagine. I have been given a particular insight into various spiritual truths which is quite rare, and my tongue has been made eloquent, that I may better fulfill my sacred obligation to explain these truths unto the world. There are many profound deceptions in this world which seek to degrade the foundation upon which you build your spirits, so as to make you easier to control. And it is absolutely pivotal to your evolution that you seek to understand the logic of various truths, various fundamental spiritual properties which will protect your soul from these deceptions. All that said, I will now dive into it. Now, the most important will of God is very simple and intuitive, so I'll start there. God wishes for us to practice virtue in all things, to seek to be understanding of all other life, to be honest and fair in our dealings, and to be good stewards of the earth, as well as our own bodies, which we have been given the power to destroy and the wisdom not to. The benefits of these things can be observed mechanistically. They don't have to be observed in the understanding of God or of spirituality. This is largely due to the fact that the observation of universal truths and spiritual principles is fundamentally the observation of God's will. The whole world obviously becomes a better place for almost everyone when more people are simply decent to each other and we maintain a healthy environment as well as healthy bodies for ourselves. If you understand the universe as the body of God and the earth and ourselves as a component of that, then you understand that this suggestion of harmony and virtue benefits not only us, but it makes the whole body of God healthier. So far this is all pretty straightforward, but unfortunately this is where we begin to run into complications. And we have to take a deeper look at the true nature of the earth, of humanity, and of the secret history which has been hidden from us and buried. Now, one of the first things you might confront when you think about practicing virtue is that it would be a lot easier to do if it was normal, if other people also wanted to consciously practice virtue, which actually leads us to a fundamental psychological principle which humanity must learn to consciously understand, which is that many people largely operate from a subconscious predator versus prey mentality. Fully understanding the nature of this mentality will determine the fate of our global society. It is fundamentally the opposite of a benevolent empathic mentality, but it is an inevitable archetypal psychological trope of all who do not naturally empathize with others. The only way purely non-empathic souls can fundamentally observe reality is by seeing all other things as essentially food to dominate and control. While this mentality is more primitive than an empathic mentality, this does not mean that it is not intelligent. Sociopathic spirits who naturally wish to enslave and control all other spirits are often geniuses. This predatory nature is actually the root of evil, which, as I have explained on my other channel, involves essentially the conscious will to non-consensually harm innocent beings if it benefits them. Now, I actually just opened up several different topics that I'm going to have to explain and able to give you a full picture of how and why this predatory spirit is so common, and how we can consciously overcome it and build a world which is safe from such beings. I'll start by addressing one common misconception about the nature of evil, which largely inhibits many naive spiritual seekers and has led them tragically astray. This might be the most important point I make in this video. Those who fail to understand this are easily led unto their own slaughter. A lot of people have been led to believe that to ascend and to understand the unity of God requires them to think they are above the duality of good and evil, and to think that because all things are one, rejecting evil means that you are rejecting yourself, and so you have to embrace evil within you to ascend. Or perhaps think that there is no true evil because we as God cannot truly harm our mutual self, or something similar. This is one of the most nefarious and destructive deceptions in the whole of the world, and it actually completely halts the ascension process and entraps many people in a willing prey mentality within this predator-prey paradigm. How sweet this sounds to people speaks volumes as to the subtlety of the seductions of malicious spirits. You must always maintain skepticism in this world and learn to question the logic as well as the outcome of all philosophies and information which is presented to you. To deconstruct this deception, it is important to learn to distinguish between the body of God and the mind and will of God. For while it is true that all of creation is unified in the omnipresent body of God, it is not true that every part of that body adheres to the will of God, since God gave us freedom. We are not forcibly compelled to perform the will of God. Our every instinct and impulse is not intrinsically guided by the profound love of our Creator, unless we work to unify our spirits into the will of God by studying what it is and how to embody it, which we are encouraged to do. As such, it is fully possible for components of the body of God, for living eternal souls with free will, to do the opposite of the will of God, and to cause unjust harm to other components of the body of God, like a cancerous tumor. Evil, by nature of being non-consensual, predatory, sociopathic rape consciousness, intrinsically harms all other components of the body of God. As such, it is necessary to separate this cancerous and destructive infection from any part of reality of the body of God which wants to remain healthy. This includes us as individuals separating evil from our own spirits and able to be healthy, and it also includes heaven's need to not have evil within it. And that is the true lesson of the polarity of good and evil on this planet, is that mankind is being taught and asked to learn the necessity of saying no means no to evil. The true lesson of evil is the necessity of its rejection. It is not the frequently falsely proposed idea of integrating and loving evil. When you are presented with a predatory consciousness, you must resist it with greater force than it imposes upon you, or you will be its victim. And it is perfectly righteous to resist such impositions upon your well-being or the well-being of innocence. Further, you cannot actually ascend to higher consciousness until you purify yourself of evil. Removing and rejecting evil doesn't mean you have to be perfect, and that's an important clarification. It just means that you have to not have any desire to harm innocence for your own benefit. And it also means that you have to be willing to exert your will to prevent injustice when it's before you, because if you do not exert your will to prevent injustice, you are partly complicit in and consenting to that injustice. These are very important spiritual physics for you to understand, as they are direct factors in your soul's eternal trajectory and fate, and components of the karmic justice of God. So I hope that you are taking this very seriously and perhaps re-listening to individual segments if you need to, so as to contemplate how they play out in various situations. Anyhow, you can see how the aforementioned message of accepting and loving and integrating evil as a necessary part of your wholeness is directly opposed to humanity's true ascension. You do not have to have any evil in you whatsoever. It does not have to be a part of you. You must consent to embrace evil, and you should not. And there are thousands upon thousands of false prophets repeating this inverted message over and over, some thinking that they are saving the world and enlightening people when they're doing the opposite. Most of them are fools who think this sounds nice and that they've unlocked some great secret which appeals to their ego, but some of them are predators, and they want you to be willing prey instead of rejecting them. And that circles us back to the nature of the earth, a realm which has been defined by this primitive predator versus prey consciousness. As mentioned previously, it's not primitive in terms of intellect, but only in terms of the potential evolution of society. A predatory society will never take into account the harm it causes to the earth and to others, until that harm threatens the apex predators. A predatory society will never seek to reward individuals fairly for the value of their labor, but will always seek to steal the value of other people's labor from them to reward sociopaths. That is the shape of the society that we are presently dealing with, and the only way to change that is unfortunately to confront the apex predators with greater power and intellect than they have used to bind this world onto illusions and slavery with extra steps. Encouraging a fundamental understanding of the nature of predatory consciousness on a mass scale is one way to strike a critical blow against evil, because evil primarily gets away with its schemes and manipulations due to people not contemplating what it really is. Most people simply don't understand how manipulating the masses towards illusion, hysteria, and division is the inevitable motivation of any sociopath who wishes to hold power over the world. Because doing so weakens people psychologically and spiritually, so they are then easier to further manipulate and do not see their true apex predator enemies continuing to siphon the value of their labors, among other things. I'm going to now revisit a point I made earlier about how predatory consciousness inevitably forces all other consciousness to either confront it or be its prey. It cannot be defeated with pacifism, for it simply views that as easy prey. It fundamentally lacks empathy and will not be swayed away from its actions by appeals to mercy. To safely coexist with spirits who operate according to this predatory philosophy, whether consciously or subconsciously, everybody needs to learn how to recognize that mentality and distinguish between it and those who are genuine and sincere in caring for others. This is the fundamental divide of good and evil, of benevolent virtue and endless selfishness. Many people do not wish to hear that your instincts drive you unto evil, and that you have a moral obligation to confront those instincts and purify your motivations. But if you seek truth, then you must confront this. It may seem more pleasant to hear that you should learn to love and embrace all instinctive decadence, but I assure you that the true desire to improve upon and purify your spirit will lead to a far more profound satisfaction and a far better world for everyone who isn't a psychopath. Which is most people. Most people are decent. Most people want a better world for everyone, and frankly struggle to comprehend how the philosophical motivation of embracing pure and absolute evil actually plays out. And I pray that you will understand that better now. If we wish to uplift this world and return it unto its original purpose as a place of spiritual alchemical growth and nourishment, we must all learn to embrace our creativity to become better predators than the most evil and psychotic fallen angels and demons who have ever conspired against the benevolent will of God to feed upon, enslave, and torture humanity. But only insofar as to use our power to change this paradigm. It is absolutely within our power, within my power, to beat them at their own game, for we have greater divine blessings than them, and we have absolute truth upon our side, while they have primarily illusion and deception. I understand fully the unpleasantness of the necessity of being forced to compete against psychopaths in a rigged psychopathic game to protect people who largely scorn us for trying to break them out of their illusions. But if we cannot change the game fundamentally, if we cannot change the nature of our unified psychological understandings, the nature of our motivations, the nature of our economic paradigm, then the whole of this world will remain tragically dominated by predatory evil for a very long time. As a final note, I will confront one danger which happens when people who have not fully understood good and evil suddenly gain that understanding, which is that they will be tempted to consciously choose to embrace evil, to fully embody a predatory mentality, and to embrace the power of the left-hand path or the dark side of the force. While it may seem that the power gained through unrestricted cruelty and greed is beneficial in this physical realm, it is a game that can never be won and which will forever result in dissatisfaction. You will be cursed and cast down by the righteous and unable to attain unto heaven. Further, those who choose to embrace that path will almost definitely never come close to competing with the alpha predators. Satan, as well as other demons and fallen angels, will always hold more power than you are capable of attaining in a predator-prey paradigm, and you will always be their prey. The only prey that the lesser predators are capable of feeding off of are those who are weaker than them, which are primarily those blind to the nature of evil and who are convinced philosophically to consent to being prey. And so you see why the deceptions of this world are so important to the servants of evil. Truly, as soon as the masses understand them and stop listening to their lies, they will both lose their ability to steal the value of the people create, and also their ability to vampirically spiritually drain us, thus causing them to starve as they deserve, for choosing evil causes them to forfeit their ability to produce their own divine spiritual mana. The lecture on the nature of direct spiritual vampirism and the production of sacred energy within ourselves is a topic for another time, though. In closing, I pray by the grace of God that I have shown light upon the nature of evil which will endure forever, that the good may ever be vigilant in uniting to prevent the manipulations and schemes of the wicked. Amen.